Every time a new lead comes in after hours or on weekends and gets the same automated messages as during normal business hours, you might just lose that sale. Because here's the thing, most businesses treat all of the leads the same no matter the day of the week or the time of the day. This doesn't set proper expectations, nor does it help progress new leads to becoming a customer. So if you're using HighLevel, you should definitely take a look at the setup of each of your workflows to make sure they're built using smart routing rules. And I'm going to help you do that in this video. I'm going to give you a step-by-step process to follow so you can make sure your HighLevel account is set properly in these two areas. Area number one is to create smart routing rules so you can control what messages are sent based on whether it's normal business hours or not. Area number two is to use those smart routing rules with timers so that messages don't send until they should during normal business hours. Now, the cool thing about what I'm going to show you is that it's kind of a bolt-on system that lets you modify any HighLevel workflow in just a few clicks. Now, here's why I want to show you this. Without using these workflow modifications, you're going to have these two problems. Problem number one is that you're going to be sending the same message no matter if it's 8 a.m., 8 p.m., or on the weekend. So if you're sending an SMS to all new leads, and you probably should be, then you're not setting proper expectations on whether to expect follow-up or when to expect follow-up based on whether it's 8 a.m., 8 p.m., or over the weekend, and this leads to frustrated leads and lost sales. The second problem is that if you have appointments with a reminders workflow, there's a decent chance you're sending out those reminders outside of when people would expect to get them, and if you're doing that, you're annoying those people. Specifically, here's the issue. Let's say you have an appointment with a lead or a customer that's set for 8 a.m. If the workflow is designed to send a reminder 3 hours prior and then 1 hour prior, this means that those reminders are going to be sent at 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. Definitely not ideal. Luckily, this problem and the other is easy to fix. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video, and let's go ahead and get into building this thing out. All right, now we're in HighLevel. To get to where we need to go, we're going to go to automation over here on the left and go into workflows, recipes. I have a folder for the pre-built recipes from HighLevel, and I'm going to show you two of the recipes in here to add in the time-based wait action or the if-else, adding in that logic into both of these so that you can see two examples. So I'm going to start with the recipe Fast 5 Lite. This is for those leads that come in. You want to send them a message right away. I have another video that shows how to build this differently. You can check that out if you'd like. But we're just going to use this one, assume that we're going to use it, and I'm going to show you how to add in this certain modifications so that you can do it to any workflow, whether it's this one or anything else that you built on your own. To start with, we want to figure out where we want to have this split happen to be able to send different messaging based on the time of the day or the day of the week. And so right off the bat here at the beginning of this workflow, it's designed to send an email and an SMS. The email doesn't matter what time of the day that it's sent, so we're not going to worry about this. The SMS does. This is the one that we want to edit. And this is where there's the opportunity to change the messaging to be more relevant to the time of the day or the day of the week to set expectations. And so in order to do this, what we're going to put in place here as an action is an if-else action. Search for that. There is a recipe if we wanted to use that. It's called availability. And it simply puts in, you can build this yourself, but it saves you a few clicks. Puts in that it's evaluating the current hour to be on or after or before a certain time of the day. And so all you need to do is simply select the time of the day that are your normal business hours. So we're going to say 9. And it's really nice that it gives you the condition, gives you this little prompt to know when the condition will be true. So it says before 9 a.m. This isn't always apparent, so it's nice that it's down there. For example, if I were to change this to is after and then did 9 a.m., passed it up, it's actually, the logic is actually closer to 10 a.m. So that's why it's nice to have that little prompt down there. So we're going to do on or after. We're going to do 9 a.m. And then is before, and we're going to do 5 p.m. like so. And again, nice little prompt down here. I like to rename things, so I'm going to call it evaluate time of day. And then this branch, time of day equals business hours. And then this other branch down here is going to not equal business hours. And simply by the logic that if this is not true, then it's not going to be within the business hours and therefore should go down the other branch, not the business hours branch. Now you could add this in and then add in another if else here to further segment based off of the day of the week and then treat those differently. So basically you would have a time of the day one, a time of the day branch that you could treat differently, and then have a day of the week branch that you could treat differently if you wanted to have different messaging on weekends versus just after hours. So you could do that. I'm not going to, but I'm going to show you how to modify this one to add in the day of the week. So down here, you'll see this other option to add segment. And so this is one group of logic, and I don't want to do this because that's adding to the same group. I want to instead add this other group of logic. And it has this modifier and or, and I'm going to use and, not or. There's a lot of ands and ors there. All right, real quick, I'm going to come in here, go into the date and time folder, and current day of the week is right here at the top, and they have a nice handy little option here for weekends, or weekday rather, because we want weekday. We want this to be true and pass down this branch when it's a weekday. So if it's a weekday and it's between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., it's going to go down my business hours branch. Otherwise, if that logic does not check out, if it is false, it'll go down my non-business hours branch. And so really it's as simple as that. It's adding in that one if else action, modifying the logic according to your desires to set the day of the week parameter and the time of the day parameter. And then what you're going to do is modify this one to be for business hours. Now, in general, like I've mentioned and alluded to, I want to set expectations here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in some text that I normally use. You can copy this from me if you'd like, use it for yourself, edit as you would please. All right, so here's my text using some merge fields or values, custom values, standard values, whatever you want to call them, and custom fields. So here's the first name. We're going to automatically pull in their first name, assuming that we will have collected it up here in the form, which is normal. And this is using custom value. This is the salesperson's name. If you don't know what a custom value is, it's simply in the settings area of HighLevel. I'll show you real quick. You come over here to custom values. You can set up these custom values, which I have none right now, but you can set up a custom value that can be used system-wide for any contact record. It's not specific to a contact record. So that's what we're going to do is use that. I like to use that for the salesperson's first name. So that it'll automatically merge that in. And then if the salesperson leaves or gets fired or whatever, you can go into the custom values, switch out their name real quick and easy. So set expectations. We're going to be calling in a few minutes. And then I like to ask a question. So for this example, it's a pest control company. We're going to ask for their address so we can verify that they're in service area. And then we're going to ask what problems they're having, what pests they're having problems with. This does a great job at engaging the lead, get them to start responding. And my purpose in doing this is to stop them from going to the next option for their solution, right? So if they're on Google Maps, to get them to stop going back to Google Maps to find another pest control company to call or message. And instead get them to engage and start having conversation. So it works really, really well. And I bet it would work for you. You just need to figure out the message or the question that you would want to ask in order to get them to engage. All right, so there's the one that's business hours. Going to go ahead and save that. All right, so what we're going to do is copy this action right here, and we're going to paste it in right here. Now what we're going to do with this message is we're going to modify this to set expectations, letting the lead know that it's now after hours. All right, so I have my example text here. It is very similar to what I just had in there, except that it says it's after hours for us, but we'd love to help. ask the same question, and then let them know that we will get them a quote as soon as we're back to work. Again, setting expectations, still asking the question, and this still works really, really well to get people to engage in a conversation, even if they are opting in, becoming a lead during the middle of the night or anytime after hours. So that's what we want. We're going to save action. What we're going to do next is we're going to add a new action here called go to, because we want to go ahead and loop it back into the same flow as the business hours one. Now, depending on what's below, what's going on here below, you may want to add in a wait action. Now, the reason why is, for example, if you're notifying people internally, like your salespeople, you may not want to notify them during the middle of the night, the weekend, that sort of thing. Again, my other video that I referenced goes into more detail on how to set that up in the way that I prefer to set that up. But just real quick to let you know that typically this is what you would do, is you would just add in a wait action, click the advanced window, and then just set this to be normal business hours, which by default, that's what it is. Save action, and then you have a wait action here that will wait until it's normal business hours to continue on down the workflow. All right, now this same logic that I just applied to this recipe, the Fast 5 Lite, can be applied to any workflow. Now, just to show you real quick, I'm not going to go through the full process again, but going into this auto missed call text back recipe, which I highly recommend using the workflow instead of the default setting, but I also recommend modifying this to be more sophisticated, and I have another video that shows you how to do that. But if you are using this one and you just want to upgrade it, make this modification that I just showed you, you simply would follow the same logic. Right before the text message that would go to the lead, just add in that if-else action and configure this to be the time of the day, just like we did the other one. And then you would have that branching logic to be able to send a different message for those calls that you miss that are after hours, again, to set expectations appropriately versus the ones that come in during the business hours, and have different messaging for that to set expectations appropriately for that as well. All right, so what I showed you so far solves problem number one. Now to solve problem number two. What I'm going to do is go into this recipe for the appointment confirmation reminder. And I made a few modifications to this recipe just to further illustrate my point and to enhance it a little bit. First off, we're going to send a confirmation email and an SMS. Normally the recipe is just an email. Wait 24 hours. And naturally, if it's the appointment, 24 hours before the appointment, it's going to be in business hours, so we don't need to worry about this reminder. It's this reminder that can become problematic. So in my example that I started with, if I have an appointment at 8 a.m., 3 hours prior to 8 a.m. obviously is 5 a.m. We don't want to send an SMS at that time. Sending an email at that time would be totally normal and fine, although you could modify this to not send the email until later as well. So as it is right now though, 3 hours prior, we're going to send an email and then we're going to wait. And so this is the critical piece here. This is the piece that I added in. And I just added in this wait action and then toggled the advanced window. Set left the wait time to 0 minutes, so it's reliant on this advanced window instead of the wait time. And I'm simply going to set this start from to be 8 a.m. at the time that my business opens in this example, and then stop at 5 p.m., the time that my business closes. And if I have appointments Monday through Friday only, then I would just set these days to reflect that. Otherwise, I could select Saturday and Sunday as appropriate. So go ahead and save that. Now what's going to happen is it's going to wait here until business hours. Now you may notice that I have the exact same wait action here as I do up here, and this is intentional because this is going to wait until business hours. Once it's business hours, or 8 a.m. in this example, it's going to allow this person to continue to flow through the workflow. It'll hit this one, and because I have this setting set to skip all outbound communications, if the time is in the past, then it will immediately skip to the next action, which is the text message reminder, or it'll immediately skip to the next wait action, which is the 1 hour before the appointment action. So said a different way, because 5 a.m. is before 8 a.m., which is when this will allow it to run again, it's going to skip the 3-hour SMS reminder, which is what I want to have happen. I don't want a reminder from 3 hour to run immediately, and then immediately after that, have a 1 hour reminder SMS running. So in this scenario, it's going to skip this one. It's going to go to the 1 hour wait. And in my scenario, it's going to be 1 hour before the appointment at 8 will be 7 a.m. It'll give them a 1 hour notice essentially for that appointment. It's going to send the email and the SMS. Wait until it's 5 minutes before and then continue to run. So the principle here is that you can use this combination of the wait action based on the time of day using the advanced window, and then a wait action based off of the event or the appointment time to be able to get the behavior that you want it to do. Now, I will admit that this exact build out isn't exactly perfect for every scenario. I would much prefer to have the reminder, the 3-hour reminder email and text message go out the day before. If the appointment's early morning, say 8, 9, or 10 a.m., I would much rather have the reminder go out the day before. And there's actually a way to do this if you are just a little bit creative. Now, really what I'm trying to show in these videos is principles and ways of thinking so that you can build your own solutions and not exactly copy mine if it doesn't fit your needs. If it fits your needs, then go for it, copy it. But what I want to show you next is how to think about doing the thing that I just described. If it's an early morning appointment in the 8, 9, or 10 o'clock hour, then have it do the reminders the day before. So I'm going to go back into this workflow here, and I've put in an additional few items. So you're going to need one custom field and then a few more actions in this workflow. The custom field that you'll need, I'll just show you right now what to create. I created a folder called Calendar Helpers. In this folder, I put this text field. So the type is a text field, and I just called it Appointment Date Helper, just to help me remember what it is and how to use it. What we're going to do is come back over here. I added in the Update Contact Field action, and I selected that Appointment Date Helper from the drop-down list. And then what I did here is I put in the start time for the appointment. So if you click on this little tag looking thing, click on appointment, and then click on start time, that's going to give me the time of the day that the appointment's at. And that's what we're going to use later on in the workflow. Going to go ahead and save that. Everything else is the same up until this point here. So what I did is I added in an if-else to evaluate the appointment time. And by default, the time of the appointment is not usable in this if-else in the way that we need to use it. So that's why I created the custom field. Populate the time, only the time of the appointment into that custom field. And then we're going to use that custom field in this if-else action, evaluate what's in that field, and based off of what's in that field, based on the numeric value of what's in that field, we're going to split the flow one way or another. And the way that I have it split is based off of what's in that field here. So in the field that is called Appointment Date Helper, the custom field that we just created, that we populated with the appointment time, I'm going to look at that, and if it contains an 8, so essentially the logic is I want it to run if it's true for 8, 9, or 10 a.m. in those hours, the 8 a.m. hour, 9 a.m. hour, the 10 a.m. hour. And so if it contains 8, and I use the colon so that it's not looking for, like if it's 138, I would not want that to run, so I'm putting the colon there to help further identify exactly what I'm looking for. I also want to, so I added in an additional modifier using the AND operator, and specified that if it contains AM versus PM, and I tested this out. It's not a 24-hour time format. It's probably a system setting that you can change. Mine's set up to use, the 12-hour format. So we need to look for AM or PM, which I'm doing with that little operator there. Then I add in another segment. Again, going down here to segment, you can add in additional groups of logic. So that's what I did for the 8, 9, and 10. I just repeated the same logic, switching out 8 to 9 and then to 10. If any of those are true, then it's going to go down this branch. If any of those, if it's not true, if all of those are not true, then it's going to go down this other branch. If it goes down that branch, it's going to continue on. So say, for example, it's at 11 a.m. I want a 3-hour reminder, which would be at 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, my math is right. So at 8 a.m. this would run, which is totally fine. And therefore the email and the SMS is going to go out as expected. That's just exactly what we want. However, if it's at 8, 9, or 10 in those hours, I want it to go down this branch and essentially do the logic, run the reminders the day before, which is what this allows. So it's going to wait 0 minutes, and then it's just going to wait until it's 4:30 to 5 p.m. And essentially, I chose a time window. My logic is that I want this to run towards the end of the day, and between that half-hour time window. You could make this wider or narrower depending on your specific setup and the way that you want to run things. Once that condition is true, then it's going to send the email and text message, and then it's going to go to the next wait action over here using the go to action the 1 hour before. And then it's just going to run down the same branch as the other logic dictates. And really that's it. If you were following along and did what I built in the other one, what I did here is I deleted, there was an additional wait action step here and a second wait action based off of the appointment. So I duplicated this one and added it in down here. And then there was a SMS hours wait action here. And that's pretty much it. So again, what I'm really trying to convey and teach in my videos is the way I think through workflows and how I build them so that you can learn similar principles and build out what you need for your particular situation and scenario for your business. So there you have it. That's how you solve both of the problems that we started with in this video. If you have any questions or want any clarification, let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to help. And if you don't have a workflow that allows you to respond to all new website leads within 60 seconds, you're probably missing out on a huge opportunity for growth. Because if you can respond very quickly within that 60-second time frame, you'll likely 5x your sales without actually improving your product or your sales process or spending anything extra on ads. At least that's what Harvard says. So click over to this video right here and let's see about getting you a 5x multiplier on sales. It'll be fun and I'll show you how to do it step by step. See you over there in that video.